Magandang umaga sa inyong lahat. Okay, we'll try that in English. Good morning to everyone. Awesome. I'm here today. First of all, I want to say thank you so much to Drew and the fabulous crew of Creative Mornings, to TPT and Rewire for hosting, the folks that fed us this morning, the folks that harvested that food for it to be here to make its way. So just acknowledging like the human connection within all of us. I'm going to talk about this beautiful family here in a second. Is this on? Can I move away and they'll hear me? If I move away from that mic, will they hear me? I'm going to go back. Okay. I won't touch it. I'll just leave it. So, thank you, Rochelle, for volunteering as tribute. I think it's always good when we start things off like that, kind of get everybody going. Thank you to everyone for time traveling this morning from across the river. St. Paul is a happening place, guys. I go to Minneapolis all the time. Come see us here. Come. St. Paul's not that bad. The streets are okay. So thank you guys. I know it takes a lot to kind of get out of our bubbles, our comfort zones, and so I just want to acknowledge your time for making the effort to be here this morning. Based on my experience, I believe in order for us to preserve our values, our work, our integrity, our human connection, we need to be open to evolve, which is somewhat opposite of what preserving is, because it's all about keeping its original state. But we see that the way we live, work, play, and create is changing with the time and space that's around us. I'm here today not only to share my story, but the story of the community that the communities that I belong in and identify with, as they try to come together in solidarity to preserve their traditions, their cultures, their sense of identity in the face of, crazy capitalistic competition, of gentrification, of everything that really makes us kind of inhumane. Oh, look how cute I am. So my family and I immigrated from the Philippines in 1989. We were waiting for our visa. It took my mom about almost 20 years to get her visa to be here. She was left behind during some civil unrest in the Philippines when my grandma left with the younger kids, and she couldn't come with because she had just turned 18. So by the time she got it, we were all born already, my siblings and I. So when I came here with my family, we had the hopes and dreams of any other immigrant family, right? To be able to live the American life. I want to give a shout out to Big Bird, because we thought in the Philippines, like we knew all this English, right? We're like, yes, we're ready for the Philippines. We get here and it's like Sesame Street English, right? Like yellow and Bert and Ernie. But we thought we knew a lot. But when we came here, we thought we were going to be able to use all that English, right? And because we were told you can only speak English. We had to leave behind who actually we were, our identity. We weren't able to preserve our identity when we got here because we had to assimilate. We had to assimilate and conform. And for us, so I feel like my story is really the same and also different, because the only way we were able to preserve our identity was actually by assimilating at first, but then that actually became something that was breaking our souls, our integrity. And so, we get here, and I told Drew this at one of our meetings is that, when, now that I'm a parent of 4, for me, it's really important that we continue to talk to one another to learn about each other's stories, because our stories is what weaves us all together, right? It's really important that we take the time. Everybody's on their phone or their laptop, and they're like, even me, I have my stuff on here. But really, just turning it off and just connecting is what's really gonna preserve us. It's what's gonna preserve for the next generations, really. So, going back to my family, I think for us, it was really important to just understand that in order for us to survive here, we had to assimilate it first. But then I went to middle school and graduated with this really handsome guy. I met him when I was 13 years old, and this was a time where, my cousins told everybody, don't tell them you're from the Philippines, tell them you're from Hawaii, because they know where Hawaii is, or California. They don't know where the Philippines is, and I was like, okay, where's Hawaii? I didn't even know where Hawaii was. And then so I came into school, like, basically not really telling people I was Filipino, trying to speak English without trying to drop my accent as best as possible. And then I went to middle school, right? And then I met this really handsome, cute guy named Sergio, who is my life partner, who I got to choose as my life partner. And not at 13. I'm not condoning any life partner choices at 13. But we became best friends. We played soccer after school together, and he was this guy, he'd like walk around. Can I walk now, Harry? Not yet? Can you hear me? Yeah, you can hear me. TPT's got the good technical stuff. So I met this guy, and he's just like walking around the hallways of Battle Creek, and he's like got his Mexican pride shirt, he's got his hairnet on, and it was like this very like stereotypical like Dickies, Nike Cortezes. It was very stereotypical, like Cholo, Mexican. I was like, and at that point, I actually didn't even know a lot of other brown folks, because the school that we went to only had 20 students of color in it. And so for us, I saw him, I was like, wow, he really knows who he is, right? He spoke Spanish all the time with his friends, like the 3 other Mexicans in the school. And then he would be all rebellious and correct the Spanish teacher because the Spanish teacher wasn't enunciating correctly. So I was like, that guy knows his stuff. And then we just, we hung around. We actually didn't like each other at first. And, for me, it was kind of this awakening, right? Like, this person is walking around with who he is, right? Telling his story, speaking his language, being who he is. Naturally. And so for me, I was like, I'm going to start doing that. Of course, there was no other Filipino kids to speak Tagalog with. So, we hung around a lot. And most of the time, people are like, oh, you must be Mexican or you must be Latina. And, that's also due to just the long colonization and perseverance of people, my ancestors in the Philippines. If you didn't know, Spanish colonization was there for 400 years. And so we have a lot of mix in the languages. There's a book out there that's called The Latinos of Asia. And so for me, it was really important. This is kind of like what triggered my, my sense of home again, like finding out who I was, right? Or where my people came from, my family. And we still ate the food, we spoke the languages, and sang the songs, but it was starting to get lost. And so I was like, and when I had this baby, this is our graduation photo. We were rebellious. They would not post this up. But we're like, my mom made the little toga. He just turned 21 last Saturday. Yeah, he's pretty cool. He's more responsible than us. He graduated with a high school diploma and an associate's degree at the same time. And he's finishing his bachelor's this year. So we think we did pretty good as teen parents. People tell you all the time, people are really good at telling you about your mistakes, right? Like, they're like, oh, you didn't do this, you didn't do that. Like, this morning I walked in, we're like, oh man, we didn't do the name labels. I was like, that's cool. People can just ask their names, right? So whatever we did before labels, right? Or like, oh man, we should have played music. That's okay, people can actually talk to each other, right? And so I think that for us, it's right now what Creative Mornings is doing is that human preservation, I feel like, that human connection that we all are needing and wanting and really desiring. And then that also transcends in the work that we do, right? So a lot of my work really started out with, Sergio and I started organizing in high school. So raise your hand. Okay, we're gonna do a little ask. I'm kind of scared to ask. Raise your hand if you're from St. Paul. Okay, woo, yep. Raise your hand if you know you're in St. Paul. Yes, great. Raise your hand if you know where the east side of St. Paul is. Okay, so east side basically is the last stop before Chicago. Sorry, Wisconsin. And if you ever get to the east side, that's where my family and I immigrated from. That's where my husband's family also immigrated to, because it's one of the communities in St. Paul that is most affordable in housing, and so a lot of immigrant families start out on the east side for generations. And so we started organizing in high school. Before Dia de los Muertos became popular, before it showed up at Target, before it showed up at Party City, Sergio and I we brought it to our high school that we graduated from, because by that time there was a huge switch from like middle school of like 90% white students to our high school where it suddenly became 80% students of color. And so for us there was this need. Even other students were like, man, we need our culture clubs, we need places and spaces where we can connect and create and be together and be ourselves. So then I joined the Asian Culture Club, but it was predominantly Hmong and Vietnamese, and there was no Filipino kids. And then so my husband's like, just join the Latino club, they won't know the difference, just come. And I was like, I don't know. He's like, no, just come on, you can practice your Spanish and whatever. So, and then, the more we kind of hung out, the more we saw that we had similar cultural traditions, right? So in the Philippines, we also celebrate Dia de los Muertos. And so, so that was the first thing we did. We we're like, okay, tell the teachers are all confused. They're like, dead people, why do you want to bring them in our school? And I was like, so there was this need to create awareness, but also internally for us, it was our way of preserving and a way of telling our stories. And not just our own stories, but the stories of our ancestors, the stories of our grandparents. And so, yeah, like I said, before it became popularized, we were organizing cultural relevant events. And we have been organizing ever since. In 2016, for those of you that didn't know or don't know, there was a huge, I think it's when it became more, there was more awareness of it, also due to social media and how we have more access to things online. We brought 148 youth and families out to Standing Rock. And so for 6 months, Sergio and I, we were traveling back and forth to Standing Rock to see how we can help support and help show up in solidarity. So not to co-opt anything, but to show up in solidarity, right? There's a buzzer. Does that mean my time's up? I'm just kidding. And so for us, this was like the pivotal moment. And if whatever work or sector you're in, whatever field, whatever your passion is, I really encourage that you guys really think about how you're doing intergenerational engagement. How are you engaging your youth? How are you engaging your elders? Whatever communities or whatever circles that you're in, what is your intergenerational engagement? What is your cultural engagement? And some people are like, well, that's not really my audience. Like, seniors, that's not my audience, but it is, and it should be. Same with youth, because the youth, we keep saying, oh, the youth are our future, the youth are the seeds, the next generation leaders. They're leading now. Like, they're doing the work and they're stepping up. So engage them in the work in the field that you're in. And there's, even without forcing it to, it does just come naturally, that we have to start broadening our audience. We have to start broadening our engagement and not give in to fear of failure. I don't actually have failure in my vocabulary. I think I did like in 8th grade when I got a C, but I don't have it because I see failure as opportunities of growth. I see conflicts as opportunities of learning, of growth. And so for me, it's like, okay, that one didn't go as well as I thought, but what did I learn from it? What did we learn from it together? This is my 16-year-old. It's cold. This was the last day we had in Standing Rock, and all of 94 was shut down. There was a snow blizzard. This was when the night before Obama had announced that he was halting any more construction until more investigation was done on the pipelines. And so about 10,000 veterans showed up that weekend. And on the last day, we all marched up to the site, it's my phone that's buzzing. Sorry, guys. I was like, who keeps buzzing at me? It's my phone. So my daughter, my Sergio, and my firstborn, our son, went out to Standing Rock to meet with the veterans, to thank them, to bring out supplies like we were usually doing every month. And we offered a dance. And this image will always stick with me because it shows how resilient and how amazing and how beautiful, not just my daughter, but just our youth. And that's why I'm trying to make sure that I share with you guys that the youth that we see now, they're gonna be adults in no time, right? So you, all of us, not just you, myself too, it is our responsibility. It is our responsibility to engage them. It's our responsibility to share with them our networks, to share with them our resources, that we always have to operate in a place of abundance. So I want everybody to think about like, oh my gosh, why did they go start a new podcast, right? I'm doing the same exact podcast of the same exact people and the same exact blah, blah, blah. And this happens with youth, right? So when we think we're adults, when adults say, oh, youth are so dramatic, actually adults are too. We're just in a different level. But we have to remember that, oh, wow, you know what? That podcast sounds similar to mine. And I'm going to have coffee and tea with them. See, maybe there's opportunities of collaborating. Because, again, we have to change our mindset from competition to collaboration. Like, that's why I really like that collaboration station. That one is pretty cool. So with this, it's like collaborate with our youth, collaborate with our elders, collaborate with other folks that we don't typically see in our circles, collaborate with folks who you'd never think to cross paths with. Like I never would have thought in a million years that I would be here, standing here next to you guys and chatting. I guess this is a chat. We have a dance group. This is my daughter and I, and my husband. See, he does Filipino stuff too. My husband, this is Tinikling. Oh, and Marlena's here, so I can give her a quick shout out. So Marlena works here at TPT. Yes, wave Marlena. That's my ate. So Marlena, she reminded me, I met her at Intermedia Arts when my daughter, the one that you saw a photo of, was 3 years old. And last year she did this amazing play called Isla Tuliro, which basically talks about the colonization of the Philippines. And I bawled and cried because it reminded me that I still have so much more work to do. And even though that I've done a lot, that we've done a lot as a family and as a community, that there's still so much more work to do, but we can't get tired of that work. We have to be motivated to wake up every day and just be like, okay, what's to do today? How can I change the world? And so you're here. That's like one thing. We're changing the world right here, right now. Okay. Plug in for Green Card Voices. Yes, Green Card Entrepreneur Voices. This is just an example I want to show you guys of how we can create intersectional work and make sure that if we are truly sharing, preserving, teaching, exchanging stories and work, we need to be able to do it in different media forms. People still read books, guys. You can produce them. And then I just wanted to close with this. Really, I got a few minutes left. And I wanted to just close with this is last year or 2 years ago, we leased this building, Indigenous Roots Cultural Arts Center. And for me, the culmination of my lived experiences, my personal experiences really brought us to this, is creating culturally relevant space and opportunities for artists, for community members, for organizers, for activists, for agitators, to have a space. And I don't want to just say safe space, because there are safe spaces. This is a loving space. Like, we want to create a safe and loving space where people can show up as themselves and come at the capacity that they can come with, but also know that the contributions that they give, whether it's monetary, whether it's barter, whether it's skill, that it adds to the value and the fabric of the work that we're doing in the community. So we bought this building not because we were millionaires. I wish. The community and us, we ended up acquiring this building in August in the face of gentrification and displacement. So if there's anybody that's a developer here or aspiring to be, I would just encourage you to develop with consciousness. There's no neighborhoods that don't want revitalization and investment in their neighborhoods. But we don't want to have it at the cost of displacement. So for us, it's going to take all of us, all of you that are here today, whatever work or field that you have. Drew did an amazing job acknowledging that this is Dakota, Lakota land that we're standing on, that we're here doing our work and living in. And so we have to continue to recognize that in every space that we do it. I'm not asking everybody like every day, like go run out and say it. Even with you, like just internalize that. And that's where it first starts, right? And so for us, it was really important that we open this space up so that people can be who they are and show up as they are. And for us, we continue to do this work. There's a collective of artists. There's over a dozen artists, over 6,000 people use this space or have participated in events. There's things happening on the daily. I encourage you to go a little farther east or up the street from Metro State, so it's not too far, to come visit us and to see what's happening there, to meet the people that's in our community. We came together and I don't want to, it's a long story. You can either read it in Rewire. Katie Moritz wrote an article about Indigenous roots. Paulin also did an article, Melissa Olson also did an article on this, which you can share. But for me, I want you guys to understand that the only way we can preserve things is we need to evolve. And we need to make sure that we are in constant movement. We're in constant movement and that we're checking ourselves. And I think for me, find what's most valuable to you. What is your value? What is your purpose? A friend actually just told me, she's like, sometimes we can't let our passion overcome our purpose, right? Then I was like, oh my gosh, what does that mean? I was like, that's deep. Because I'm a really passionate person. I'm like, this whole place was built like 10, 12, 20 hours a day, right? No sleep, team, no sleep. But then I understood what the grandmother meant by that our highest purpose, that we were all born into this time and space at the same time. Like, we're all in this room together. This is not gonna repeat itself. Not because Drew's not gonna invite me back, but they have different speakers. But it's not gonna repeat itself, right? Like, this is it. The people who are here are the people who are meant to be here. And so I just wanna say thank you so much for having me here. I hope you stay for the Q&A, ask questions, and also come up. I'm coming across to you guys in the river next month because it's gonna be at the Commons, and Mayor Fry will be your speaker. And also where it's gonna be at the Commons, our artists are actually building sculptures for their, in the form of alebrijes. So if you don't know alebrijes, you can watch Coco or you can Google it. And so we're creating structures for that for Northern Spark. So I just want to say thank you so much. Maraming salamat sa inyong lahat. Thank you.
Oh, Jen's, we're grabbing in the back. Okay, we're gonna pass around some wireless mics. So if you have a question, raise your hand. We can chat a little bit more about anything. Whatever you want to ask Marianne, okay?
Yeah, we also take jokes, questions, comments. It's all free for all. Yes?
Do you have any advice for reaching out across generations, particularly for someone who is younger, who wants to talk to someone that is older, has that knowledge that they may not possess, but doesn't quite know how to ask? Do you have any tips for that person?
I just say show up and start with your circles first. I would just say start with your circles first, right? Start from within, right? If your grandparents are still alive, if your neighbors are of older generation, and you just show up. You know, it's funny how we're like, man, where do we start? Where do we go? What if they think I'm a creepy man or something? Well, not me, I'm not a creepy man. But just ask. And just like you're sitting next to someone today, it's like, hey, this is gonna sound a little kind of crazy. It's always a good line opener. And you just ask. And actually, our elders love chatting. They love sharing their stories. And so it's just an ask. And so showing up where they're at. So don't just be like, oh, hey, come to downtown at 4 p.m. and meet me for coffee because traffic sucks. But show up where they're at. Oh.
Hi. Okay. I just was wondering if you could talk more about how your dancing and drumming has influenced kind of what you've been able to do in all your work.
Yes. So Sergio and I started Kalpuli Yausenoshli. Actually, we're celebrating our 13th year here. And so dancing and drumming for us is like our first nature, second nature. My husband and I love to dance together. And so when people see us dance together, whether it's salsa, bachata, whether it's Mexica, Aztec dancing, whether it's tinikling, people see that, again, that human connection, right? And then we do it with our kids together. And then we do it with community members. We've actually used our dances as a form of showing up in solidarity. So when there was, when Philando Castillo got shot, Cordell Handy got shot, when, you know, all of police brutality and protests and demonstration were happening and still happening, we show up in solidarity through our dance. We offer our energy to honor those who have passed on. At Standing Rock, we were out dancing. So for us, like, dancing is a form, two forms, right? Form of showing up in solidarity, and also to honor those who give their time or have given their time in that way. So yeah. Plus, it's really fun. It's like good endorphin release.
Hi. Other than the beautiful photo you showed of your daughter up at Standing Rock, can you tell us about, you know, if any of your 4 kids are really kind of following in your footstep and picking up on that energy, and give us an example perhaps?
Yeah, I got really lucky, you guys. Like, those kids are really, I don't know, man. We lucked out. But our son, I don't think any of them want to follow in our footsteps because they know how much work it is. But it's also this form of, like, again, solidarity and family and obligation, but also motivation, and they see that the community needs it and asks for it, and asks to have it there. So our son, like I shared, he's getting his business admin degree. He's getting trained like as a bookkeeper and doing admin at the cultural center. Our daughter, who is, he is actually the lead drum teacher in our group, so he does drum classes as well. Our daughter, who is 16 right now, leads our song classes. She is one of the founding members of the International Indigenous Youth Council, the Twin Cities chapter. So her and her pals are out there, you know, protecting the water and the land and preserving cultural traditions. So they are. My 10-year-old, our 10-year-old is an artist. I can't draw a stick figure to share with anyone. It's too embarrassing. But she is a talented visual artist and a storyteller. Our 4-year-old, we're kind of like figuring out her thing, but she's just a pure joy of light. She's too cute, like she's just, and so she brings a lot of happiness and energy and a constant daily reminder of why we do the work that we do. So thank you for asking about them. They are the light of my life. They are one of my 4 of many purposes I have in this life. Yes.
There was a dance and drum group at Lake Nokomis earlier this week. I was wondering if that was you.
There are 8 Mexica Aztec dance groups in the Twin Cities. We have danced at Lake Nokomis, not this week, but on average in May we have about 40 presentations. Like spring is our busy month. Yeah, May 1st kind of kicks it all off. International Workers' Day, American Indian kickoff, all of the good stuff. Yes.
How do we find your dance schedule and where you'll be?
Good question. Sometimes I have to find out too. So, so on Facebook is like our main marketing. So any marketers out there, I mean, Facebook and Instagram have been our main mode of free marketing. We don't print anything unless completely necessary and someone's completely just landline kind of status. But yes, Facebook, Instagram, and then Indigenous Roots also has a website. Yes.
I'm a mentor for a young girl that just immigrated here 2 years ago. And last week she had a huge incident because she's having trouble preserving her culture and also, you know, being in high school with, other. So she had an incident and she talked to me about it, and, you know, she talked to a lot of people about it because there was a lot of people involved with her incident. Just if you have any advice for me on how to help her, you know, because she's having trouble, you know, just preserving her identity. She grew up and, you know, trying to merge it with, you know, 2 years of no English and just coming.
It's hard. You're already doing it. The fact that she came to you and shared it is a huge trust thing for our youth. Like, they don't just, I mean, yeah, in social media, like, they share whatever they want, but like to actually come to an adult and speak about it to you, just listening to them, not really bombarding our youth with like 100 questions, because they also have 100 questions, right? So I think it's just more like, hey, you know, remember our conversation the other day? How are you feeling about it? I went to this talk with this woman who talked about cultural preservation and things like that. That story is very similar to the youth that walk through at Indigenous Roots at the Cultural Center. We have, and that's why it's grown. We have a Hmong dance group that's housed out of there, a breakdance hip hop group. The Minnesota Haitian Cultural Center is housed out of there. We have Esencia Mexicana that does Mexican folkloric dance. We have so many different folks and dance groups, and they're not our program. When groups come in, when cultural groups come in, we have them, they are in charge of their groups. They are in charge of their entities. We are merely just the house, right? It's kind of like you invite your guests over, right? And you're like, make yourself at home, and they take it literally. Yeah, so that's what we do, and we just make a home. So I think just continuing that conversation. They love food, you know, bring her a bag of chips. They, that's how you work with youth. That's why they love me, because I got snacks in my bag. Yes.
We'll do this as the last question, just so y'all know.
Cool. Oh man, it's gonna be a good one though. Okay.
Yeah.
So with working with both our communities that we're in and other communities to try and tell stories and bring our voice out, I struggle with this balance between listening and being a part of it and helping tell those stories, but also recognizing the amount of emotional labor that those people are giving me. And I was wondering if you had any advice on recognizing that.
Ooh, you got a good one. That should be like noted as like one of the deep questions of Creative Mornings. So I think I'm super booted enough for that now. Takes me a minute to boot up in the morning. So I think one of the first things I would say is what I do is check myself, like where I'm at that day, where I'm at that moment. And what we've kind of lost because of social media and all of those things and just being more connected but really not connected is trusting our intuition and our gut. You know that pit feeling where you're like, this isn't right, but I'm gonna go do it anyway? Yeah, listen to your pit. And I call it, sorry guys, but this isn't for you, but you can also in tune with it. I call it womb wisdom, right? Our intuition, like as women, femme folk who carry that unseen intuition, that womb wisdom. We have to follow and honor that. Our womb houses all of our emotions, all of the history and the memories. And so, okay, guys, don't get discouraged. But this is, so for me, it's find a woman that got a womb that can share the womb wisdom with you. That's what I'm saying. So for me, it's exactly what you just said. So you got to think, every problem, every challenge, every barrier that's in this room right now that's looming in your head, or if you've already shared it with your partner, neighbor, you all have the solutions for it. We all have the solutions already. When we talk about all of these crises and all of these things, we have the solution for it. So by you merely asking the question, you've already answered your own question. And I know that sounds like a total question answered with a question, but listen, that balance, just the balance of listening and partaking, knowing when to step back, knowing when to step in, and knowing just when to just be present and just be on the side, right? And that only develops more, that sense of being present develops more the more that you challenge yourself to be in spaces and places that you normally wouldn't be in. So yeah. Thanks. Thank you, dude.